The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today. SkyTigers, this is awesome. I'm pumped to have you guys on. A bunch of you have been on in different projects, and that's cool, you know. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Ryan, welcome to the show. It's your first time on the Struggling Artist, I believe, right?
Yes, this is my first time.
Welcome.
I'm new here.
Well, we're just gonna have a fun little conversation here. But before we get started with because we're gonna talk about the new album, right? We're gonna talk about the record release show, and I want to get a little history of SkyTigers too, you know, because I think you guys have been around for what, 2010?
Yeah, so
16 years. That's awesome. But before we get into that, I want to just say the first time, like I don't know if I've heard of you guys, but prior to seeing you live. It was I saw you guys, but I don't think I listened to you guys yet. So I saw you guys at a matinee show at the Midway, and I forgot what year it was. I don't know if it was like late 2021 or early 2022, or I should keep track because of all the shows I go to, but I don't. But I just, you guys got up there and I was like, oh, I haven't heard these guys yet. And then you started, and like, I was like losing my breath with the energy. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to keep, I was like, holy shit, these guys are great.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, you guys are awesome. And I didn't know what to expect. Like I said, like I had heard the name, but I hadn't heard you guys, you know, yet. And I definitely hadn't seen you live yet. And it was like a phenomenal experience. And, I think I came up to you, Brian, after the show. I bought a record, and I think, you know what? It was right around the time. So I took over the Get Punk Record Club from Mark Lind, and I was a member of the club from the time it started, which was like 2017, I think, and then in like 2020, I was traveling for work, so I didn't have an address, so I didn't do it for a year. And then I joined back up, and then I took it over. Mark had me take it over. But at one point I was like, dude, I think I'm going to get this SkyTigers record for the record club. And he was like, oh no, we had it in there. I'm like, oh, it was your last run. I was like, oh really? You had this one? Because this is like right after I saw you guys, you know? So I'm like, oh really? Why didn't I get this? And he was like, I think that was when you were out of the club for a year. I'm like, son of a bitch. Like,
yeah.
But there was a lot of those times where I found a record in the wild, as I like to say, and then I'm like, Mark, this should go on the record club, and he's like, no, we had that while you were, while you weren't there or whatever. So, yeah, so it was always, I was like, all right, I guess I know what I'm doing with picking records, you know. So, yeah, so but you guys were awesome at that show, that Midway matinee show. Matinee shows at Midway are my favorite because it's probably the closest like Boston adjacent venue to me. And I can be home by 9 p.m. because I'm old, you know? So, but yeah, no, it was awesome. It was awesome. So yeah, give me a, let's do like a history of SkyTigers. Cause I mean, 16 years is a long time, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. So Ryan and I used to play in another band called Easton Legacy back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. That band broke up, probably around 2009, right?
Yeah,
And,
because that band broke up, and we kind of played around with a couple different other band like spin-offs, like Apollo Starfleet, and
yeah. And then, at some point it was like Apollo Starfleet was fizzling out, and Ryan and the old singer for Eastern Legacy, Jesse, were talking about starting a new project, and they, contacted me and said, "Hey, we're gonna get together and make some music. Do you want to come by?" And they had already gotten together like a couple of times beforehand and hashed out some like riffs for songs and stuff. So I actually didn't play bass before SkyTigers. I played a little bit of guitar, so I kind of had a basic idea of it. But I was playing synth in Eastern Legacy, and so I came by, and we were all kind of like, I mean, Ryan played the drums obviously, but he was writing stuff on guitar, and we were all just kind of swapping instruments and just recording demos and stuff. And then it kind of cemented. We got another guitarist at that point, so it was me, Ryan, Jesse, and Will Lopez, who plays in a couple of bands still. What's his band called now? I think it's like Idle Palms or something.
I don't know.
But anyways, so we got together, we wrote some riffs, and that's when I decided I'll just stick on bass. That's fine. Um, and then a couple of years, it was probably like a year or two after that, Jesse ended up moving to California with his now wife. And so we were all kind of like, we're going to keep doing this. Cause back then we weren't really playing shows. I mean, we played like one or two, but it was more just an excuse to get in a room with your friends and make some music during the weekend and blow off some steam. And so I was like, I still want to make music. Like we can keep going. I'll try my hand at singing if nobody else wants to take it up or whatever. So that at that point, we brought in John Cogswell, who has been like an intermittent member of SkyTigers throughout the years. He comes and goes. But so it was me, John, Will, and Ryan. I started singing, and it ended up working out pretty well. So that's when we really because when Jesse was singing for the band, it was more of like I don't know, like a Coheed and Cambria type, not pop punk, but that, pop punk adjacent type stuff. But then when I said I don't sing, I don't actually have a singing voice. So when I started singing, it was more screaming. And, that's just how SkyTigers kind of became what it is now in the format that we are. And so I guess like, the format change happened, I'd say probably around 2012, maybe. And then,
And we have recordings too of that
yeah,
of the old Skytires, and you wouldn't be able to tell it's the same
yeah,
band.
you wouldn't even know it. And then so during those years, the lineup stayed pretty consistent as me, Ryan, and Will, and John between 2012 and 2014. And then John left, and we got another guitarist, Matt Knowles, who plays in Taken by Vultures now with his brother Steve. He played guitar for us for about a year, and then we got Rochelle. Now, I met Rochelle back in like 2003 or 4. We were both working at Hot Topic in the mall, and I knew she played guitar, and she was posting like some riffs on Instagram, just like short, videos of her, some stuff that she was writing. And I sent her a message. I was like, "Hey, I think you're in Pennsylvania now. That's where she's from originally." And said, "If you're ever back in Massachusetts and you want to play in a band, let me know." I was like, we've got a spot open, and your stuff's really great." And she's like, "Actually, coincidentally enough, I just moved back to Mass."
Wow.
Yeah, so she started playing with us, and I think it was 2016. And since that time, the fundamental like base of SkyTigers hasn't changed with me, Ryan, and Rochelle. And then we swap out, somebody at second guitar. John's come and gone. Like I said, I think he's probably gone for good at this point. The last time was kind of not a great departure. But yeah, we've had John Cogswell there. We've had, James has taken up the helm now. A couple months ago, he started playing with us. And it's great.
And he's kicking ass.
Yeah, he's been doing a real great job. And I credit him for that because, James comes from a long line of very, very, very good bands. But this is, I think, I don't want to overspeak, but I think that this is James' first time playing in like a more technical, like metal band, where it's more like progressive riffs than, chords and, chord progressions and stuff like that. So, but he's doing a great job, picking it up. So, we thank him for that. But yeah, so that's kind of the brief history. And then, 2016 to now, it's kind of just been like I said, a couple of lineup changes, but that's when we really started picking up steam. That's when we started playing out a lot. During those years, between 2016 and 2020, we were playing probably 3 or 4 shows a month locally. And, you know, we don't play out a lot outside of Massachusetts. I mean, we've gone to New Hampshire a couple times, and, you know, technically when Ryan toured with The Promised End, we did a couple of songs at the end of a couple of sets in Germany. So I guess technically SkyTigers played in Germany for shows. But for the most part, it's been Eastern Massachusetts, and, you know, sometimes we'll get out to Western Mass, sometimes we'll get to Southern New Hampshire or Manchester. But, you know, we were playing relentlessly in the Worcester, Salem, Lowell area between those 4 years. And, you know, I was just actually writing this up for a different interview, and I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, we did so much in those 4 years in such a small location, you know, and,
Mm.
you know, our name recognition just kind of exploded. And I think that was more from just playing so many shows and having our name on so many show flyers. The buzz just, you know, people would, you know, start talking about Sky Tigers in that regard, and then, you know, see our names and stuff, and you'd be curious, who's this band that I'm seeing everywhere that, you know, but yeah, so 2020 hit. And that was probably the hardest 18 months of my life because, you know, I mean, we were getting Ryan and Ryan's, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention Jay. Ryan brother Jay is also a phenomenal guitarist, and he subs in at second guitar position every now and again too, but he's out in California right now. He's been there for a couple of years. So, but he, for a while, him and John were going back and forth. It was just who was in town and ready to play, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, you know, Ryan and Jay and I would get together like once a month during the pandemic, you know, with masks and, you know, full PPE, and just start to, you know, try to demo out some riffs just to get in a room, you know, with your friends and write music, you know.
And meanwhile, this is immediately after like we won the the punk hardcore music award.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, this is it. Like this is like the kick. This is gonna kickstart our
Oh,
journey as music. And then it was like, wait, what's this like disease going around? That's
Right.
okay. I guess we have to like cancel shows and hunker
And that
down.
was when the record was coming out too. We had
Yeah.
finished up the record. It was funny. So we, Ryan and I think Rochelle was there. We met with Paul, and back then Jeff was a part of Sound Investment Records too, Jeff Rowe. So we met with Paul Pacillo and Jeff Rowe at Winter Hill Brewing. And it was the weekend that they started really raising the red flags about COVID. Like, hey, this might be a bit bigger than we think. Maybe people should stay indoors. And I remember we were all sitting in Winter Hill, and there was like a runners club. It was like they were doing like a bunch of runners clubs throughout the city. So there's a bunch of like 5Ks going on, and people just hanging out. It was packed in there and you couldn't move. And I remember one of us said something like, well, if this is going to be a problem, this is probably not the best place to be.
yeah.
And then that's when we picked up the physical records. We got our box of records. We talked about the release with Paul and Jeff. We hashed everything out. And that was, like I said, early March of 2020. And then the following weekend, we had to start canceling shows because everything started to shut down. And we were like, literally, you know, we had the release show planned out. We had everything set to go. And then we're like, so now we just sit on these for a couple of months, I guess, and see what happens.
Yeah. So when, did the record, did it officially come out in 2020 then, or?
So it officially came out in 2020. It was released, you know, you could order it online through Sound Investment and stuff like that. And we did end up having like a record release show in 2020 once everything started opening up. But yeah, that record, unfortunately, you know, it's a bummer, but it never really got like the push that it deserved when it first came out, just because of that whole nightmare scenario.
That's like, I've heard this like so many bands this happened to, and it's just like, it sucks when you're an artist and like you build this anticipation up for this thing, you know what I mean? And then something just out of anyone's control happens, and it just kills everything, you know?
Every time we release an album, there's a major like disaster in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're living in one right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's crazy. Just sidebar real quick. Rochelle, what part of Pennsylvania are you from?
It's called Lansdale. It's right outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So I was just so happened during the pandemic, I was living outside of Pittsburgh in a place called Cranberry Township. And like,
Yeah.
I knew nobody, and I was like stuck out there for a year. And I was like, this is awful.
Oh.
It was rough. It was rough. And, you know, but I mean, I started doing the podcast like right at the end of 2019 again. And then 2020. The podcast kept me alive, as I say. It was my one outlet to talk to people. You know what I mean? Because I had my own business, so I like worked alone, and like it was just a nightmare. It was just an absolute nightmare. But I do want to ask this about the band. So is there a reason for staying local for those 4 years, or you guys were just kind of perfecting your thing and they just didn't have the opportunity to go anywhere?
Honestly, like I said, we started this band to just kind of like get in a room together and have fun, with our
Yeah.
friends on the weekends. And that's all it's ever been. I mean, we don't write music to try to impress anybody. We just write music that's fun for us to play. We write songs that are, incredibly difficult and challenging to play. And then we, teach ourselves how to play them, and it makes us better as musicians. And, that people like this, that people enjoy the music that we're making and appreciate the energy we put out in our shows and stuff like that is awesome, and I'm very excited and happy that we've had such a successful like run locally here. It's been amazing. This music scene is so strong right now, and it has been despite the pandemic for several years. And we feel so at home here, that the idea of touring, like, we never really even considered it. Like, why would we leave home if we have such a nice thing going on here?
Yeah.
I don't personally love touring. I have like a lot of like separation anxiety from my home base. I can't be away from home for too long. James and Rochelle can tell you about the last Promised Step tour where I completely lost my mind on day one. As soon as we landed in Germany. But yeah, it's hard for me to be away from my place for too long. So I'll tour if other people are like, hey, we've got this thing that's all set up and ready to go. All you have to do is show up. But like, the amount of effort that goes into actually booking a tour yourselves and like, setting everything up, for me, it's just like the payoff is not worth the work. And it was just so much fun just playing here for all those years. We were getting, like I said, we've never really started this band to get anything back. We got what we needed back just by making the music and having fun. So
Yeah.
we don't necessarily feel the need to kind of expand. I mean, don't get me wrong, we'll play out of state. If we get contacted by people, we'll happily go out of state. It's fine. But like, as far as us, we just stick locally because this is where our home is. This is where all our friends are. This is where all the people that love us are. And, we don't really we're in our 40s now. We don't really have an interest in becoming famous or, globally recognized or anything. So, it would be great to bring the show to like other people so other people can see it and experience it. And if people want to reach out to us, sure, we'll consider coming out. But yeah,
Brian, I'll also add that how many shows in the entire SkyTigers history have we gone out to set up ourselves? Like, how many shows have we
None.
created?
I think maybe the record release show for Eulogy. I think I said
Every single show we've played, with some exceptions, has been we were invited to play.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which makes
So
it easy, because booking shows sucks. It's so hard. Just booking that one show, I remember it was like just a nightmare. God bless all the local promoters in the area that do all this work for us. Because
right, I think what we're trying to say is like we never really went out of the way to like put in the work to book shows for us. Like that's just kind of the way we've functioned as an entity. Like, we sort of write music for ourselves, and if people want us to play, we're happy to play, but we're not going to like go set up shows for ourselves to play in front of people unless
we all
it's a
have
record
like
release or
full
something.
time, like really stressful, kind of careers in front of us. So it's, it's hard enough at this point to just like make the time to actually play the music, let alone like all the, logistical stuff you have to do in the background if you're managing it all yourself and putting all that stuff together. I mean,
It's hard enough. It's hard enough being like, hey, are you guys available to stay to play?
Right, exactly. Yeah. For like an hour and a half.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, it's not a bad thing, right? I know people that write albums and record music, and they don't play out. They don't want to play out. You know what I mean? Like, if the feeling comes over you, then you do it, and if not, you don't.
Well, don't get me wrong, too. I love playing live. Like, I love playing shows. The fact
Yeah.
that we get to do it is amazing, and the fact that people come out and support us is incredible. And I will continue to do this until I die on my feet. I will always go out. It's just the logistical thing of like setting up the shows, which is the pain in the ass. But I mean, I'll go out and play shows in the dead of winter with 2 feet of snow on the ground. Like, I just love playing music with my friends.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's got to be a release, right? I mean, I've seen you guys perform. Like it was a release just watching, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so that's awesome. That's awesome. So what do you guys like? What? And I'm always like, I'm not a big like, you know, well, this this kind of subgenre or whatever. Like to me, it's all rock and roll, right? It's all, you know. But like, what would you guys? Because you guys have some of the best like thrash melodies I've heard in like. But like I don't know how to just like when I try to describe you guys to people and I'm like, well, it's like, you know, it's like they got these real thrashy like melodies and like it's kind of hardcore or it is hardcore too, but like I just don't know how to describe you. So how would you guys describe yourselves?
Yeah, I'm
I
kind of
mean,
in the same
that's how
boat.
I am. I don't know how to describe us when I tell people.
Yeah, same way. Yeah.
You know, I too am of the idea that like music is music. Like, yeah, it's, you know, rock and roll, you can have like whatever, but all the, you know, various subgenres, especially I feel like there are new subgenres every day that I just have never heard of. You know, and so we get lumped into the crossover thrash bucket, I think, because that's the easiest. Because if you think of crossover thrash, that's basically just anything that falls in the middle of punk and heavy metal. You know, it can be hardcore, it can be, you know, the stuff from the Bay Area in the '80s. You know, all this, you know, crossover is kind of the catch-all term, I think, for anything that falls on that spectrum. That also has like, you know, the quintessential like thrash, you know, riffs and beats every now and again. You know, so I think that's what the genre that people lump us in the most, crossover thrash. But yeah, I mean, anything in between punk and heavy metal, hardcore. I mean, we touch it all really. We haven't done ska, so that's the only thing we haven't done.
Not yet, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Thank God.
Just from an outside perspective, from someone that's like just kind of coming to the songs now, like I hear all of the different influences from kind of the punk world. Like I definitely hear a lot of like Brian's like early 2000s Boston hardcore influences. I think like it would be crazy to like miss that when you're listening to especially the new record. But also like yeah, like everything is like a thrash pun, and like there's all this like on the guitar stuff, like it is a mix between what you know what Brian's influences were with like the thrash metal like Metallica and like you know Anthrax and all that stuff, and then Rochelle, you know, her songs are very melodic hardcore. Like they sound like they could have been like on like a Bane record or like a With Honor record or something, which is like totally different, but like you put them together and it works really well. In Boston, we had this band in the late 90s and the early 2000s called Bones Brigade. And in my opinion, they're like the best Boston straight edge band of all time. But they were a thrash punk band. So they had like the thrash metal riffs, but they were a fucking punk band and they were fast as shit and they were awesome. SkyTigers is in that vein for sure, which is one of the reasons why I was psyched to play with these guys.
That's like a huge compliment. I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
The other interesting thing to point out about like the dynamic of SkyTigers and what makes the music so unique is that we all like Rochelle and I come from similar worlds when it comes to music taste and stuff like that. You know, we have a lot of similar interests, but Ryan is kind of like outside of. I mean, it's not that he doesn't appreciate heavy, fast music. You know, when he hears stuff that like piques his interest, but he comes from like kind of the more rock and
Karaoke.
roll, I would say, how do I say this? Like lineage of music, that genre. You know, he can talk more about like the band, but I know you used to get compared to Stuart Copeland from The Police a lot, the way you play drums, and you know, Rush. We always got Rush too. But like that type of stuff, like that, he doesn't. What I'm trying to say is he doesn't play like your typical Boston hardcore drummer. You know, it's not something that you're gonna find, you know, in all these other bands that are popping up trying to do similar music, and that lends a lot to our unique sound. Is that Ryan, when he hears because when I write a riff or when Rochelle writes a riff, we have an idea of what the drum should sound like in our head because we're obviously basing it off of our influences, and we're like, oh yeah, this would sound cool with like a, you know, a real fast upbeat. And then Ryan will get behind the drums and he'll just play something completely out of left field that we weren't even thinking of, and you're like, wow, that sounds way better. You know, it doesn't sound so predictable, it doesn't sound so, you know, generic and whatever. And so that's a huge help to like making the SkyTiger sound so unique, so that when people listen to us, they're like, wow, this sounds very familiar, but it's still something that I haven't really heard before, you know?
Yeah, I like that. I think when everyone can can pull their influences and kind of mix them together like you guys do, like it makes it something special, I think. And I, like I'm from New England. I'm from Rhode Island originally, and I moved out to Worcester years ago and all this stuff. But like I've been listening to like Boston like music for forever, and like I just like that thing to me that's like something special about, especially right now, like everyone's just like, let's just bring everything we've got and make something weird and let it be what it is. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know. I love that. I love that about this area in particular. And like, and kind of like what you were saying, like no one's trying to like write something that's like, like, I don't know, like they're not trying to like manufacture a sound, right? Like there's just like, let's just do this thing and
Exactly.
put this mess together and see what it does, you know?
Like
Yeah,
very
we feel-
rarely, like when Ryan sits down and plays something different on the drums, am I like, no, play the thing that I want to hear in my head. And it's
It
not
has happened.
Ryan
but-
doesn't play fast and he doesn't hit hard like he does. He can play like, the fast hardcore beats, the fast punk beats and stuff like that. It's just like, it's a little, his approach is just so much different.
So like we're living in a dumpster fire right now, right? And it's pretty shitty fucking world we're in. And so like when Paul hit me up about the record, and I was like, yeah, let's have them on, like, and this and that. And he's like, all right, I'll mail you a copy so you can hear it. I'm like, cool. I'm like, if you got a digital one, like send that over too. So he sent me one, and I was like, all right. So I was like, I'll listen to this when I get home, because like I was like leaving from work, and my truck has pretty shitty, like it's just like a whatever for audio, and like my other car has like a really nice stereo, so I like listening to things in that. But like I was like, I'll listen to it when I get home, and then like traffic was just taking forever, and I was like, I have this new SkyTigers album on my phone, I need to listen to it now. And I did, and like I was so happy I did. Like I couldn't believe, by the time I got home, I was texting Paul as I was pulling into my driveway. I'm like, dude, this thing just blew me away. And then
we probably sound better on shitty speakers. It's probably a better listening experience.
So let's talk about Injustice for All. First off, there's a lot of punny, like I don't know, wordplay, I guess, kind of like titles to songs and stuff in this one, right? And going back to what I said with the dumpster fire, like, when were you guys writing this? Like, because it feels like, at the moment I heard it, I was like, oh, they must have wrote this yesterday because the world sucks, and you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, let's kind of unpack that. Like, when did you guys start writing this record?
Yeah, so we wrote half of it back, I think we finished up early 2024, and we actually went into the studio in March of 2024 to start it. And I think we recorded like 4 or 5 of the new songs. And the first song on the record, Immer Television, I always talk about this song because it was like 2 or 3 weeks before we were getting ready to go into the studio, and Rochelle, we were all sitting at practice, and I was like, does anybody have anything else they want to throw out that we can maybe throw together quickly to add like a 5th song to round it out? Because we were just going to do an EP. And she's like, oh, well, I have these riffs, and, I think they're okay, but I don't know if it's something we want to try to like squeeze in now, or if we want to take our time with. And she showed it to us. She showed the idea to us. I was like, no, we have to figure this out now. This is awesome. And we put it together in like 2 weeks, and it was funny because I usually take months to write lyrics. I do. It's like one of the hardest things about playing music for me. And the lyrics to the song came together in like a week. And it wasn't a full week of me thinking about it either. It was just like that, the hour or 2 that I set aside to like put pen to paper on it. It just came together so quickly. And we rehearsed it. We got it good, I think, once the last practice before we went to the studio. And we're all kind of like, okay, if this goes well, we'll give it like 1 or 2 runs. And if we can get it to a point where we can work with it in the studio, we'll do it. But we're not going to try to kill ourselves. We went in, we got through it like in 1 or 2 tries, and it ended up being probably like my favorite song on the record. And after that, some things started happening. Promise End started getting more busy. Ryan ended up having a baby during this time, and so we kind of shelved it for a while on going back. Cause I had some vocal stuff that I had to clean up and some vocals that I wanted to redo on the 5 songs that we recorded. And at some point we were just like, let's just write a couple more songs and make it a full length and go back in 2025 and just round it out and do the whole thing. It's funny because I can't really remember which songs we wrote when at this point. But in any event, yeah, we rounded it off, and then we added one of our older songs, Casualty Friday. We re-recorded because we've been playing that song a lot. We played a lot different now. It's a lot faster. My vocals are a little bit different. So it was cool to get like an updated version of that recorded. And we also, for the vinyl record, we went in and recorded a cover of Battery by Metallica.
Mm.
So that's only going to be on the actual record, though. It's not going to be online. It's kind of like a fun thing that we're doing. It's like an Easter egg. And yeah, everything came together. And yeah, I mean, we did it at the Bridge Sound and Stage with Alex Allenson. And I mean, it's his whole process, his studio, everything about the recording experience with him is phenomenal. He is just such a genius. He's such a nice guy. I mean, I've recorded in a lot of studios, and by far he is like the best bedside manner of any recording engineer. Like, he just knows. And like in today's day and age where everybody has varying forms of anxiety and like things they can and can't do and like things that make them uncomfortable and stuff, he's so in tune with knowing exactly when somebody's like about to reach their like, okay, this is more frustration than productivity. Let's switch gears to something. And he does it in such a way that doesn't make you feel like, oh, I'm dragging everybody down. I'm like wasting everybody's time. It's just kind of like, why don't you take a break? We'll go on to vocals. The vocal booth's already set up. You know, it's like small stuff like that. He's just so good at it that it makes the whole process run seamlessly. I mean, if we were to do this record studio, I mean, it probably would have taken us much longer, but just the way he approaches everything was great.
It's
And
awesome.
so, yeah, that's
When did you guys finish recording it?
we finished recording this past, I think it was April of 2025. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a good year or about a year between the two sessions. Like, we started with the first session of like the handful of songs, and then the second session, which was like, when I say session, I mean like over the course of a weekend. And what's good is that there were two different times that we went in to do these sessions, but you can't tell the difference between the songs that we did then and
It's awesome.
the earlier ones. So
yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do you when you go back to something that you put on the shelf for that long, like, do you start picking it apart? You know?
Normally, I would say that I am a very picky person, and typically when we write music, and it's like this in most of the bands I play, Promise End too. Like when we record it, that's like the baseline, like whatever, and I'll like mess with it throughout the history, and maybe I'll change some stuff, play some stuff a little bit differently after the fact. And sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I recorded it this way. But other times it's more like, nah, well, that's just the song, and this is just what I do live, and that's fine. This record, I mean, I've listened to it hundreds of times at this point, and I can't see anything on the record that I would change. I
Yeah,
mean, regardless
awesome.
of whether it's the songs we recorded in 24, 25, I mean, I'm so happy with this record, the way it came out. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
there was like one or two lyric changes between I think you redid a
Oh
couple
yeah,
lines
between
from the first
24 and
session.
25, yeah, we went back and changed. That was a good opportunity because, like I said, I'm my own biggest critic, and lyric writing takes me so long. And that's one of the things is sometimes you record and like, I wish I changed that lyric line. I wish I used a different word there. So
I
that
wish you didn't change one line.
yeah, there was one line in the song that Ryan wanted me to keep, and I was like, I don't know. But yeah, so that was like the one thing that I was able to go back and kind of fix up a little bit. But I think we lost Rochelle.
We lost Rochelle.
But yeah, so yeah, aside from lyrics though, and even now, like listening to it lyrically now, I'm pretty happy with the way everything came out. I don't think there's anything that I would change. The only thing that really is difficult about the lyrics and stuff now is figuring out how to play them and play the songs and sing them at the same time. Because I never take that into consideration when we're writing, and I always do this to myself where I'm writing lyrics like right as we're about to go into the studio to a song or two, and then I get in and I start singing them in the vocal booth, and I'm like, there is no way I'm gonna be able to do this. I mean, on the last record, I will never forget this. On the last record, when we were doing Eulogy with Ryan Stack, I was in the vocal booth, and Ryan and Rochelle had not heard a lot of the lyrics on that record before I got into the vocal booth because we didn't have time to practice them live. And so Angel of Debt, the last song on the record, I was in the vocal booth, they were outside, and the way the mic was set up is there was a window to my right, but I wasn't facing the window at first because the way the microphone was positioned. And so I blew through the first verse, and then we ended it, and I looked over, and their jaws are just on the floor, like,
so
how
many words.
are you gonna fit into a verse? Like, are you
It's
kidding?
kind of like, are you sure you want to do that to yourself?
Yeah. You sure about that?
But it worked out.
James, when did you join? When did you end up joining SkyTigers?
I don't know, like a month ago.
Yeah.
Really?
I've been playing with them. Has it been 2-3 months at this point?
I think, didn't you technically start practicing with us before we went on tour with the Promised End?
Yeah, I think I started practicing with you guys in August.
Yeah.
Because I played those shows that you guys had lined up. I remember I was kind of panicking because like I had done all the Choke Up stuff, and like because Choke Up wasn't really supposed to be doing anything, and we like went and recorded a record and stuff. But like I was like, oh, I have to learn all these SkyTiger songs. I think I definitely crammed for the test, but it worked out fine.
Yes.
And
You
now
did
they're
great.
muscle memory. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I guess it's been since the summer that I've been playing with them, but like, yeah, I mean, I think I guess officially since the picture that we took. So we'll call it
It
that.
was kind of just like, I forget who asked it, like, is James in SkyTigers now? I was like, I don't know. He's playing it. Yeah, he's in SkyTigers.
Yeah.
He plays with us. Like I said,
He's in the
throughout the
picture, for
history, we've
Christ's
had
sake.
so many
He's
like
gotta be, right?
rotations at second guitar. I'm like, okay, James is here now. He's the one.
Yeah,
You're
I mean,
also, you're talking to people who were also like, when we were younger and had relationships, we like never quite asked our significant other if they were going to be our
Yeah.
girlfriends or whatever, but like it's just like, hey, are you guys like together? Yeah, it's like, I see you in pictures together.
That's what makes it official, James. You're in the picture. You're in
Yeah.
the picture.
yeah, I mean, at first it was like when I didn't know, I was like, well, I'll play as long as they'll have me. Whatever. I mean, the thing is that like Rochelle, Brian, and before Ryan as well, we're all in a band together, the Promised End. So it's not like it's gonna conflict. Like it's easy. We practice the 2 hours before the Promised End practices.
James, it was very efficient to have you as SkyTiger.
It just made it, honestly, like it is a relationship of convenience for the band,
No,
but it's also
honestly,
a relationship of convenience for me.
yeah. I mean, it's convenient for everyone. But that's not the important. The important part is you learn these songs like really well, and you fill out the band in a way that that no one ever has.
Yeah, and
thank you.
I think I said this before, but I have to give James a ton of credit because these songs are not easy to play. I mean, Rochelle and I don't write music conventionally like other people. We write really weird stuff, and like some of it doesn't make sense at first. You got to kind of like, some of it's a lot more like feel and flair than it is just knowing the notes and when to play them. And picking up on that is not an easy thing to do. So the fact that James was able to come in and, like you said, cram for those first couple of shows and learn the stuff that we were like comfortable going out there and playing, and the shows went flawlessly. I mean, it's not like they were like a clusterfuck, of mistakes and errors and stuff. Like, nobody would have even known that he wasn't, that, he was just starting to learn this stuff. So I do give him a ton of credit.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
That's
I can
awesome.
learn anything if I put my mind to it, but I have to do that. I have to put my mind to it.
Yeah.
So.
Who designed like the album art and everything?
Bijan, so man, I'm gonna butcher his last name. I think it's Kodabende, Bijan Kodabende. He's from Richmond. He's one of Paul's old friends from when he was down in Virginia. But
Was he the one that did the Promised End video for you guys?
yeah.
Mhm.
He did
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he also did all the artwork for the Promised End stuff. He designs like the Promised End t-shirts, and so I did the artwork on the last record, and it's passable, but I'm not a graphic designer by any means. Like, I was literally figuring out how to use the program as I was doing the artwork, and there are things in there that I would change now and go back and all this stuff. But this record, I was like, let's just go to Bijan. Like, he's amazing. His artwork is incredible. He's a friend of the label and stuff like that. Like, it just makes sense. And when he sent me the first like pass at what it was, like we made like a pretty significant change to it with some of the imagery. But when he sent me the first pass, I was like, oh my God, like this is just the color, the vibrancy of the colors was just blew me away. But yeah, the artwork is just so phenomenal on the record. I love it. It's so
I think even gotten like down to like the song titles, like how the font that's used and everything. Like,
yeah. So
I think it really helps, like with the like it really comes across as like the record. You know what I mean? Like,
See, Brian, people notice. People
yeah,
notice the stuff.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned the song titles because that was one of the things that we wanted to change a little bit because he had it in like a scribbly font, but Ryan has this thing that I actually appreciate. Like, it
And
never,
attention to detail.
yeah, it never occurs to me, but he always picks out when people are using a font when letters look the same throughout different words.
Like if it's a stylized font and you got two letters and it's like, wait, it's like supposed to be like graffiti, but they both have the same little like weird thing on it. And you're like, oh, they cheated.
Yeah. And so I
took a
basically,
shortcut.
I sent Bijan like scribbles of the song titles, and I said, this is like how I do it. Like when I write lyrics, I use a notebook and I write them down by hand. I don't use a keyboard. It just helps me think better. And I always end up, I have ADD, so I always end up just scribbling stuff and like, whatever.
He also does it with a fist.
Yeah. The pages all the time. But I sent him like some of the scribble stuff, and I was like, this is kind of like what we're looking for. And he took that and he just like put it to text, and we're like, yes, exactly. Perfect.
I love scribble text for many reasons. One, I too, that's how my handwriting looks. But the person who designed the logo for the podcast, I was like, I want the font to be like frustrating. You know what I mean? And he picked this one. It's called like Serial Killer font or something like that. So like the font on the logo for the podcast is like it's kind of similar to the writing on there. It's a little more like I don't know what the word, maybe a little more manic in the sense of like they like wrote over the letters a bunch of times for the font, so but no, I appreciate when I see stuff like that. And like I said, it goes with the the frustration of the album, right? Of like the music that you guys play. So yeah, I thought that was a really good aesthetic for it. And even like the like the little, I don't know what they call it, the little label stamps that are on the actual vinyl itself, like it all fits very well together.
He's awesome at what he does.
That's awesome. All right, so yeah, so the record comes out on February 6th, right? Which is when this will be this is going to come out the Monday right after. So this will be a good time for people to check it out and then check out the podcast and then head over and grab the record, right? Buy it from Sound Investment and pick it up on, it'll be on Bandcamp.
I think Paul's going to have it up on the Sound Investment record.
Okay. Yeah. People can pick it up on Bandcamp and all that stuff. Cause I push that the most because, because you guys get the most money from Bandcamp. And now they have this whole like no AI music allowed on Bandcamp, and I kind of agree with that too. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So let's talk about the record release show. Tell me about that. What's the date on that?
Record release show is February 11th at Deep Cuts. And
what a great venue.
Yeah, I love that venue. I mean, the pinball room alone is phenomenal, but the food's great too. Great food there. And it's a good sounding room. I mean, it's not a humongous room, but it's big enough that there's a lot of space for people and they still get a really good sound out of the sound system. There's incredible. So, but yeah, the show, it's funny because when we were talking about doing the record release show, it is a Wednesday night, so we didn't want to cram it full of bands. If it was a Saturday night, maybe we would have thrown a fourth band on there or something, but we wanted to keep it to 3 because it is, people got to work in the morning and stuff. And we originally wanted to have Tension Scale and Miracle Blood on with us headlining, but Yeah, no, I know, right? But neither of those bands were available on the Wednesday night, which is understandable. So unfortunately, we couldn't make that happen. And we were kind of like tossing around ideas, and I was like, Tree has been really active lately, and they were like, well, I think that Tree was my first favorite band that I discovered. Like, if you asked me when I was like 10 years old, my favorite band was Aerosmith because that was like my dad's favorite band, right?
Mm.
But Tree was the first band that like I found through either like my friends. I forget how exactly I discovered it, but like I heard the record, and I was like, oh, this is cool. The record Downsizing the American Dream, and I just like listened to it on repeat all throughout high school. It was like my favorite record. And I would go and see them every friggin' weekend with me and my friends, and it was just like one of those things. We would just follow them around, and so they've been really active lately. And I was like, we gotta play with them. Like that would be so cool to play. And so I threw it out kind of like as a, you guys want to see if they're available? I mean, I don't know if they're gonna want to come out and play on a Wednesday night, but if they're available, I'd love it. That'd be cool. And lo and behold, yeah, they were into it. So I mean, and Paul had been talking to the dudes from Hell Beach because we did that video a couple of weeks ago up at Blackheart Studio with Corey Booten. He's part of that team up there, and he also plays in Hell Beach. So we were talking to them kind of in the context of the video and then the record release show, and that kind of, they've just ended up being the third band that was available. I love those guys. I've known Jordan for years. All of his projects have been great. Hell Beach is no exception. So really, really excited to have them on. And yeah, it should be a phenomenal show. Again, I'm so excited to have Tree. I mean, it's like I remember in high school, when I was in my first band, and we were like a rap metal band or something like that, and I was like, if we could open for Tree, that'd be so cool. And here I am at 43.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude.
This
Yeah.
has been a
Hell
long con just
Couple
to
of
get Brian to
years
play
later,
with
yeah,
Tree.
it's all been leading to this. This is
You
Brian, what was the
retired.
name of your rap metal band?
30 odd 6.
Okay, because there was a rap metal band that I think probably played with Tree back in the day, Cherry Street or Cherry
Oh
ST.
yeah, I
from
remember that.
around here. I
Yeah.
think they were from the North Shore or the Valley.
I seem to remember them being like Haverhill Methuen, but I could be wrong.
Maybe,
But I
yeah.
used to see them all the time. There was a venue in Billerica, actually. It was called Jillian's, and it was in this like industrial area, and they always used to have shows there, like matinee shows for all ages. And I definitely saw them at least once or twice there.
That's awesome. No, that's a good show too, man. Yeah, Hell Beach is awesome live, and that's a good lineup for you guys, Tree and Hell Beach.
Yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun, man. That'd
I'm
be a lot
very
of
excited
fun.
about it.
I'm gonna see if I can get my old ass out there on a Wednesday night to see you guys, because that'd be awesome. I haven't seen, because like I haven't seen you guys play since that matinee show in 2022 or whatever it was. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, things have slowed down a little bit. We, like I said, Ryan's got a kid now, and he's got dad duties, and the Promise End is very, very active. So we're, SkyTigers have, like I said, up until 2020, we played like multiple shows a month, sometimes more than others, but we were always playing. And now we play a show like maybe once a month, once every other month, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's definitely helps keep the the intrigue and the exclusivity a bit. You don't want to over inundate the scene with whatever. But yeah, but I would be lying if I said it wasn't a little bit of a bummer that we couldn't play out as frequently as we used to. Because I mean, the Promised End, don't get me wrong, is very, very, very fun. I have a lot of fun in that band because I don't have to sing full time. I do backup vocals and stuff. I get to like be a little bit more energetic, be a little bit more fancy on the bass, stuff like that. But SkyTigers is just something about, for me at least, being on lead vocals, and the catharsis from like that, just being able to like connect in that respect, I know this is just something different for me. And I also play another band, Crow Feeder, too, and that band is good, but we play like once a year, twice a year. It's like I don't get the same type of constant release from that too. But yeah, I think we've all kind of talked about it, and we're getting old, but it's been kind of the thing. Like SkyTigers is never going to go away. Like we might have to stop playing for a little bit, if things happen, if changes. But like I don't know, it's. I don't see this band ever technically breaking up. You know what I'm saying? We're all just two close friends. Like it's yeah.
It's awesome. That's awesome. No, I'm pumped to see you guys live again at some point, and hopefully I can make it out for that show because that would be a killer show to go to. And you know, Injustice for All is a strong fucking album. And I
Thank you.
think we're in a time where we really need an album like this out here. And you know, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank you guys for that as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, you know, we're just getting the early feedback on from people who've previewed the record. And so far people have been very receptive to it, and, you know, yourself included. And we've, because you spend 2 years writing a record, you don't know how people are going to think about it, you know? It's
Yeah,
like, it's a little reassuring.
I've listened to it a lot. Listen to it, you know, I've been spinning the record, and I've been, you know, I had the digital copy too, so I've been listening to that as well, man. It's awesome. It's awesome. I think I said that to you when I went up to you at the Boston Music Awards. I was like, hey, your new record's really, I was like, Paul sent me the new record. It's really good. You know what I mean? So I'm pumped for you guys. I think this is gonna be a really good one, good release for you guys. And you know, I hope a lot of people get to hear it, you know?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So how can people find SkyTigers on social media? How can they get your album? Where do they go?
So we're on Instagram mostly. You know, we have a Facebook, but I don't log into my own Facebook anymore, so it's very rarely that I actually check that. Instagram's definitely the best way to like keep up with us on what's going on. That's where we post show flyers and updates on the band and music and stuff. Messaging too is best on Instagram if they, you know, people want to get in touch with us for shows or just to say hi, whatever. And as far as music, Bandcamp, we've got the prior record is on Bandcamp. This one will be up there as it's on the 6th as well. And it's on, you know, our music is on Apple and Spotify. You know, I am in the process. I'd say in the process. I just need to set aside the time to figure out how to do it. I don't want our music on Spotify anymore. I just don't. I don't think that we've collectively talked about that as a band yet, but I think that all the gross, disgusting things that Daniel Ek is up to and using his company, I just have a moral objection to Spotify. I don't use Spotify myself as a streaming service. I just don't like it. It's up there now. Hopefully it won't be for long. But yeah, so I you know, for people who can, Bandcamp is probably best for artists. You know.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate every single one of you. Like I said, and all your various projects that I love as well. James, I think I might be talking to you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we just told Mike we're thinking February 12th, but
yeah. So I'll see you again soon.
yeah, I have your calendar. Actually, I think I have it open on this.
Oh, do you? Yeah. So I gotten a reply from Mike. I got to put that in there. That's a little sidebar. We can talk about that later. But yeah, no, I every single one of you, I appreciate you all. Ryan, it was great to meet you.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you.
Are you in any other projects?
No, I was in the Promised End for a few months, but I had to bail out of that with the kid.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ryan's the only drummer that isn't in 6 bands.
Yeah. That's good though. That's good.
I'm the only musician in SkyTigers that isn't in 6 other bands.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks again. The door is always open. Okay. I want to throw this out there. I think a 20-year anniversary of SkyTigers would be great to do for a podcast, but I don't want that to be the next time I see you guys on here. Okay. Well, let's do stuff. You know, let's have.
We'll have to get Jesse, John, Will,
and Jay,
Mike.
Mike Harris. We got a Mike.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's. I'm hoping you guys have more releases to come, and we can just come back on here and talk about them, and you know what I mean, give you guys a good promotion for it. So I appreciate every single one of you, like I said, and I wish nothing but the best for you guys in 2026 during this fucking terrible fucking world we're in. You know, keep changing lives with your music, please.
And thank you for having us, and thanks for all you do for music. Thank you.
Tear down the factory! What's the point?